Ruslan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know we always have some of the flyest guests on this channel, and today's guest is like none other. My man has worked with 2pac, Nas, Fred Hammond, just to name a few. He works with Dash Radio online. He also is the mastermind behind something I've been talking about a lot, which is the 2020 Summerfest happening in Los Angeles, September 17th and 18th. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I have to bring in my man, Emcee N.I.C.E.
What's the word? What's up,
What's
man?
up,
How
man?
you doing, sir? Yeah,
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for being here, brother. We've been trying to get this in for a minute, so I'm super pumped you're here, man. So listen, your accolades, you know, are far-reaching. Even though people, if you may not be a household name on this channel yet, you've done a lot. Starting all the way back, as far as I can know, one of my favorite, what's the word? Posthumous.
Yeah.
Posthumous, thank you. One of my favorite posthumous 2pac songs, which was Thug's Mansion, the acoustic version. Now, a lot of them records that they came out with 2pac afterwards, if we're gonna keep it a buck, were not very good. But
yeah. I feel
that record with Nas was one of my favorite, if not my favorite record that came out after he passed away. And I recently, within the last year, found out that you produced it. So let's jump in and how did you get into production and have your hands working with, you know, 2pac and Nas and that whole thing?
Well, my music, my history in music goes back to prior to 2pac. I started with the first Latin rap group in the history of rap music to crack the Billboard charts, named Lighter Shade of Brown. Okay. Right. And so, you know, we had records like Hey DJ and Latin Active and On a Sunday Afternoon. So we had already put out a greatest hits album, and I was transitioning from, you know, from a group situation into a duo situation. And the unique thing is, though, when I first started in rap, though, I started as a Christian rapper. But at the time, the church wasn't really checking for Christian rap. In fact, they called it the devil's music. You know what I mean? And so, you know, and then when you got the church on you about, you know, doing that devil's music, and, you know, I strayed, you know, from the church and went into the secular side, even though I kept my spiritual morals. Like, I don't drink, don't smoke, didn't drink, didn't smoke, you know what I mean? And so going into you know, that transition from, you know, Lighter Shade into it was like the late 90s, early 2000, and I had already met Pac. You know, I even met Snoop when Snoop had a fade. He didn't even have braids; he had a fade, and I had already met Pac, but we hadn't really, you know, worked together. And so it just so happened that when he passed away, I was in a group called Kansas Cali, and we were on the verge as far as we did the soundtrack to the movie Crash. Before it won the Oscar, it was just like a thing to do. And so people were listening to our music, was like, yo, you guys are the next R. Kelly, Jay-Z, because that's what we were before. I had a partner named Pitt, and we were R. Kelly, Jay-Z before R. Kelly, Jay-Z. You see what I mean? And so, and our beats was just as competitive. And so when Interscope heard what was going down, they was like, you guys are the next wave. Pac passed away. We trying to find a new sound. And mind you, the song that came out didn't even reflect our sound, by the way. So, not only did we, you know, go into the studio, we did like 17 songs on 2pac, you know what I mean? And only one of them made it. So think about that, right?
Yeah. So hold on. So let's back, because there's a whole lot you just said that I got to get into. First of all, let's just stop and acknowledge this man got the platinum 2pac plaque behind him. Did y'all see that?
Yeah. You got the Nas.
You might be the first guest on here with a platinum plaque.
You catch the Nas in the corner though. Nas in the corner. Yeah. Right here. Boom.
Okay, I see it. Yo, that is so fire. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so you said you start out Christian, and you're following Jesus, but the church just isn't really rocking with it. It doesn't really make sense. they're calling it the devil's music. So then you naturally segue into the secular side of things. Now, was the music secular? Did y'all keep it clean? Like, talk
Yeah,
about
but
that.
I've always been an advocate for just straight hip hop because that's
Okay.
the era I come from. You know what I'm saying? I was in LA. We had this club at the time called The Good Life. And The Good Life, there's a movie out about it called This Is the Life. And
Yeah.
then it
I've been to
emerged.
Project Blowed. I've never been to the Good Life, but I've been to Project
I
Blowed.
discovered
Iconic.
Abstract. So
Yes.
Abstract started Project Blowed. I'm the one that put him on on our side,
Wow.
right? So
Yeah. I did a
yeah,
show with Abstract Rude before. Yeah. He's amazing.
he's got a song on one of his albums called Brothers Forever, where he talk. My nickname was Novelist. So Nice means novelist is constantly evolving. So I've evolved from novelist into Emcee N.I.C.E, right? And so in his records, he talked about how I helped put him on. You know what I mean? And so it's pretty dope. So that's where it segued into. But I was always an advocate because I had morals, I had Christian beliefs, that still carried me through life. It's just that I wasn't active in the church or active, with the music ministry.
Got you. Okay, so let's real quick before we go, guys. Give this video a quick thumbs up. Let us know where you're watching this from. You are going to love this conversation, I promise. So 83 y'all watching, get this video a quick thumbs up so we can get the views up, get it up the algorithm, all that kind of good stuff. Okay, I gotta know what it was like meeting 2pac. I grew up, man, they used to, I was such a 2pac fan in the 90s, they used to call me Rupac because my name is Ruslan. That's how much of a 2pac fan I was. Okay, so.
Pac was probably the most humble dude that you could ever meet. Like,
wow.
It was interesting
Oh no!
watching it on a TV and whatever.
Hold on. You cut out. We can't lose any of the 2pac stories. So you cut out for just a second. So okay, let me make sure it's not my internet. Okay, cool. So you said Pac was one of the most humble dudes you've ever met, and then you're getting a little choppy right now with the internet. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, he was the most humble dude you could ever meet. Like very down to earth, will talk to you. You know what I mean? He didn't have that persona that when the lights and cameras is on, it was like, okay, he turned on, for TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And obviously, if he's with his camp, but when you talk to him as an artist, as and whatnot, he was like, yo, he was always telling you, get yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If anything, get yours, and don't let the industry, keep you from doing that. And so,
yeah. And did y'all meet in like a studio setting or like backstage at a show?
Man, it was
the concept?
I think it was I don't know if it was like a Def Jam event or it was either an Interscope or a Def Jam event. I can't remember because I met so many people, but I remember meeting him and having that conversation, and then to work on his album, a few years after that was crazy.
The interesting thing is, first of all, I've had Wendy Day on a channel before. She has some amazing
Love Wendy. Yeah.
2pac. Yeah, she's incredible. She has some amazing 2pac stories. And then I also read multiple accounts of Pac going to church like a couple weeks before he passed away. And so it'd be, it's interesting just because I'll be honest, hearing 2pac rap about God was my first positive experience where I was open to the idea of there being a personal God, even though his music wasn't Christian and he wasn't, necessarily following Jesus while he was here. That was the first time where I really was like, okay, there's something to this God thing. Because prior to that, I don't know if you know this about me, but I grew up in an Armenian church serving as an altar boy and got molested by other altar boys. So my whole framework of church and God was like, nah, like that's trash, like that ain't real. And then when I got into 2pac later on, it was like, yo, so my introduction to the idea of there being a God was through 2pac, Nas, DMX, and then finally surrendering my life to Jesus in like 2003, 2004. So
that's deep, man.
Yeah, man, that's really dope. You got to work with him. And so, and then, obviously that record landed on the Nas thing, on the Nas album.
Yeah,
and,
it was it was a variation of it because it was a New York vibe. New York.
Yeah, it was
style.
longer too, right? The Nas version was like longer, the second Nas verse. And then you guys said you did like 20 records or 20 attempts. Like, so what was it like? Who's in the process? Is it Pac's mom?
Yeah,
Are they sending you acapellas? Do you got the original beat? You're trying to recreate
I'm gonna tell you. Here's a cool story. Is that Suge Knight was still out in the streets, and so what they ended up doing was putting us in the middle of Modesto, California. And we were in a house. It was several producers, well, a few producers and some, some artists and writers. And that's where we did the whole, our version of Pac's records. Is they wanted to make sure that we couldn't be touched or nobody can run up on us. And they brought in Pac, the whole Interscope family brought in the records for Pac because we were in a studio, a house studio at that. They brought in the computers, set it up on the every day under armed guard. They would leave with the computers. You know what I mean? They would defrag the computers that we had there. They would just every day the Pac sessions were brought in and then taken out, brought in, taken out. Yeah. So it was real interesting. Then we couldn't really go nowhere. We can go within the city, but we couldn't make no real phone calls, couldn't do nothing real crazy. It was just a matter of, it was top secret.
So you're in Modesto, California. So you're not even in the mix in LA and everything that's going on. They got y'all out in the Hicks. Because no disrespect to anybody who's from Modesto, but that ain't, you coming to LA, San Diego, Long Beach, San Francisco. Modesto is out the way, and you think that was by design? Actually, it's the home of it was where George Lucas Studios were. Okay. In Modesto. So that everything out there was all Star Wars and whatnot. But we were in the middle of nowhere. All the way, in between the Bay and LA. So, because, Pac's representations were in the Bay. Right. And so they were, So were you getting acapellas with the original beat, like underneath it, like to kind of hear the key of the beat? Or are you literally just getting acapellas and you got to find the tempo and find the key? We were given acapellas and with the tempo, with a BPM. Wow. So you didn't even have the original reference to hear the potential key that it was in? None of that. Yeah, it was just more like, they brought in the acapellas and, we just went to work. You know what I mean? And so now tell me this, did you ever get a bounce out of those other 17, 18 records that y'all did? Did any of those end up coming out, those acapellas, to other production of those songs? No, in fact, we were told that none of our records made it on the Pac album. And then the last record was the Thug's Mansion, which was an accident. Well, I don't even think it was an accident. It was just, we were in the studio and they had already produced, it was a different version done by, I think by Seven Arelis, with Anthony Hamilton on it. And with us, it was just, we had a vibe. And then, I told the engineer to pull all the music out of it because we had flew in a guitarist to come play. And we told the engineer to pull the music out. And when the music out, it was just Pac's vocals and the guitar. And when I was just like, yo, this is the record right here. I was going to the executive producer, Molly, like, yo, this is the record right here. Yeah. Like, if y'all do it. And then we were supposed to get together and do a whole acoustic Pac album because they loved it they loved that. So it still may happen because, like I said, it's a whole lot of records about Pac that didn't come out. A whole lot of them. How would it be great? How dope would it be to hear some of those other records that y'all worked on that never saw the light of day, man? Because there's so much in the vault. They would change up the music to match the times. And I think with us, that's what they were doing was, okay, they had these records and they came to us and said, we need records to match the time. Even though the acoustic version was no times, it was just, that just was it hit the right notes at the right time. Yeah. Yeah. And, kudos to you as a producer, because sometimes we think production and we think, oh man, it's, sitting here and punching out everything on the MPC and like you got to do everything. There's never seen a beat maker and a producer. A producer goes, no, take everything else out, leave that guitar in, and then it becomes a hit record. That's different than someone that just chop and sample. That's how I make beats, but I've always tried to get away from like feeling like you have to do everything by hand instead of saying like Dre, Quincy Jones, Emcee N.I.C.E, ain't sitting there trying to play every single instrument on the record. He gets the best guitar player to play the instrument. So I think that's an interesting distinction that I think people who look at music overlook, is that they think it's all about producing everything from scratch. I got to play the chords from scratch. They'd be like, oh, you played that? No, I don't play the guitar, but I know what I want to hear. I'd be like, no, play this note. Or can you do this? You know what I mean? So, So what happened after that? So this record comes out, it's a smash. Nas uses it. Do you then kind of get more opportunities to do more production stuff, or what's
No,
happening
so
for MC Nice
keep in
after that?
mind, I was in a group. We were like the R. Kelly, Jay-Z. We were
Right,
poised to
right,
come out. You know what I
right,
mean? And the
right,
2pac thing was supposed to help us come out. You know what I mean?
right, right.
As this group, but then R. Kelly, Jay-Z came out. You see what I'm
Mm,
saying? So that kind of ruined our situation, because the best of both worlds was like the greatest thing since sliced bread when it
right.
came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
And this
ultimately,
was the group is called the Lighter Shade of Brown, or is this a different
no,
group
the
now?
group was called Kansas Cali.
Kansas Cali. Okay.
I had already, Lighter Shade had already dropped the greatest hits, and then Kansas Cali was the name of the group, because at the time I had came from Kansas, and my partner was from Cali. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
we called it Kansas Cali. I know, weird name, but it made sense at the time. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so ultimately, what we ended up doing was, there was a movie called Crash coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so what we did something smart where we partnered with a soundtrack company that's what they do. They had like rights on soundtracks, and we're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, how do we make moves in that front? And so they came to us with this movie Crash, and it was like, yo, the soundtrack's already done, but as far as getting in the movie, but you can get on the soundtrack if you can get a song in. And so
Mm-hmm.
they let us watch the movie, and we was like, yo, we never left the studio. We stayed there. We recorded the song called If I, and then we shot a music video on our own dime. And so ultimately, that music video and song landed on the soundtrack, and the video landed on the special features of Crash, and it went on to win an Oscar and and Golden Globes and BAFTAs, and it won the Oscar for Best Picture, and that blew up. And I think it did like 10 million DVDs at the time when DVDs was incredible. And our music video is there. We're on the soundtrack, and then that parlayed us into Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
soundtrack,
Yeah. Yep.
in which we got on that, and then that parlayed us into Haven with Orlando Bloom, into Kicking It Old School with Jamie
Mm,
Kennedy, into ESPN's Once in a Lifetime. So
mm.
we had a nice little run, at that point. Then we ultimately did the theme song for the NBA, in 2010, and then
Come on.
ultimately worked with Prince. We redid a song called Pop Life. Yeah,
This man worked with Prince?
yeah.
Goodness gracious.
So we redid a song called Pop Life.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Fink, who was the keyboard player that was always in Scrubs on Prince
Mm-hmm.
of the Revolution, was like, yo, we want to add this song to the Tribute to Prince album. And it was
Mm-hmm.
the first record Prince approved to go on his album. And then when I
Wow.
seen him in person, he was like, yo, this is one of my favorite records of his.
And so this was a production for Prince, or this was you guys covered a Prince song?
We redid Pop Life in our own way, like a hip hop R&B version of Pop Life,
Okay.
and Prince approved it.
And did this come out?
Yeah, it came out. At that time, we had changed our name to the Rockturnals because we were becoming an urban rock group. So we were like
Okay.
I did rock, by the way. So we
Yeah.
did. We was an urban rock group, and then we covered it from that perspective, and it came out. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy, man. And so it sounds like you guys were intentional about fairly early on getting the production bag, the sync licensing bag, and not just depending on a label or like a mainline way to get on, if you will. Because back then, it was mad different to put out records. You could go the independent route, but that hadn't really been tried and true until Tech and them did it. And that was 1999 they founded Strange Music, right? So that wasn't really like a proof of concept. And so you guys went the route of like, let's be in the mix, let's get with these soundtracks, ESPN, all these different things.
Yeah, we were at the time, we were resume building, because we knew that was
Mm,
going to be important, in the future, in regards to when you're going to sell yourself. It's always, what have you done? What have you done? Even now, I'm an independent. I've been an independent for the last 20 years. You
mhm,
see what I'm saying?
mhm.
20 plus years. And the reason we've been able to thrive is because, like yourself, we found licensing. We found different ways to get around having to go to a major and be like, yo, please listen to my demo.
Talk about that licensing back, because I don't think people quite understand. There was a point, man, where before my YouTube popped off, and at the beginning of the lockdowns, the licensing was sustaining me. We was getting these, we got a great relationship with Music Bed, and because I produce a lot of my own catalog, I was getting, 5-figure licensing bags fairly regularly. Sometimes multi-5-figure licensing bags. Talk about that, because I think that's a very slept on, because everybody wants the Spotify bag and that's it, and they think that's it. But there's a whole nother realm of monetization from the actual music.
Right. I only became a proponent of Spotify because Billboard became a proponent of Spotify in order to get, now they're using that to put you on the charts. But I've never been, never been an advocate for that, because I felt like even with my album Praise right here, over here, went #1 on the Billboard charts in the gospel category. We was able to move some units, and I got more money from moving units than I did from getting streams, right?
Come on.
And so, at the end of the day, I've never been an advocate for that. However, when it came to, licensing situation, man, you can have, 15, 20 different companies license one song.
Come on.
And so, and not only that, when I was looking at my royalty checks coming from BMI, it was royalty coming from New Zealand, from Tokyo, from Australia. So it's like, you getting not just a bag, but you're getting bags from all over. And that was coming like every quarter. So now I think the fees have maybe slowed down in regards to size, because there's so much content available. Now it's a matter of relationships that's going to get you the bigger bags. But in the licensing heyday, for a main title, because we got the end title for Kicking It Old School, you was getting $50,000-$60,000 just for an end title song that's going to play for a minute, or 2 minutes. So it's very important. Even to this day, licensing can sustain you, and not only that, create awareness.
In our case, we work with Music Bed, who do micro licensing, micro syncs for YouTube creators, for influencers. And so they've gotten us Adidas, Google, Will Smith, like a lot of big placements, because it's all primarily micro sync licensing. Yeah. So it's not the $50,000 bag. What it is it's a bunch of $500, $300 to $5,000 bags, but they add up. And how they do it is based on the creator's platform. So Will Smith is going to pay more. Adidas is going to pay more than a church, with 1,000 followers. And so I think that's very key that you're saying that. So tell me what happens after Kansas, Cali. You guys do some of the rap thing, which was pretty early on. The only folks I really remember doing that early on was 4th Avenue Jones. I'm sure you're familiar with Ahmad, good friend of mine. Yeah. And so then you pivot, and or so it seems, and you're in Dash Radio. And how did that come together?
Well, I work with DJ Ski. So the pivot happens when the rock group, we decided to go our separate ways. Okay. You know what I mean? And so ultimately, I went back to R&B hip hop. Well, I actually went back to hip hop myself. And and I was just like, okay, well, because I understood that lane from a marketing standpoint. I had been an executive over at Warner Brothers, and a vice president of Head Start Music Group, which was on Warner Brothers, and we also had distribution through Universal. And so I learned how to market. I learned, the tricks and the trades in regards to moving units and getting them in different places. And I was like, yo, hip hop is where I'm from, and I know that. So let me take what I've learned into hip hop and see if we can make that happen. And ultimately, I ended up doing a record with Stacey Dash, right? And so a lot of people was like, Stacey Dash, Clueless Stacey Dash? I was like, yeah. So me and Stacey did a record together. Russell Simmons co-signed the record, and it was getting ready. It was supposed to go, and then the situation happened with Obama, where she was at odds in regards to her Obama's ideologies and hers, and so that crashed the record. And then ultimately, I ended up having to wait about 6 months for that heat to die down. Came out with another record with Suhana that went on the Billboard charts for 13 weeks, and I was on the verge of really taking off. And God was like, "Yo, I need you to go back to Christian hip hop."
Wow.
You know what I mean? And bring the business with you.
And this was in
2017.
2017, and you were doing more production stuff at this point, or were you also laying vocals, or both?
Yeah, I was doing both production and laying vocals, but in this instant, I was like, when it came to praise, it was like, yo, I need to go to some outside ears as far as the Christian hip hop side of things, because the music was different, and not and you want to come in and kind of understand how the genre works, and so I went to people that was within the genre that understood as far as from a musical standpoint of how to approach it. And one of those guys was Emcee from Atlanta, and who's ordained. I think he's a bishop, or not a bishop. He's one of them. But and so we ended up doing that. And God was like, "Yo, these people not gonna know you, but what you bring to the table is going to help usher in, it's going to help usher the culture to a whole nother phase as far as business and politics." And I was like, okay, Lord. And I came in, and nobody knew me, but I instantly, what I did was what secular dudes do, is I took sampled records. Like I sampled. And the first sample was Richard Smallwood, which was like a gospel classic of angels watching over me. And I took that and sampled. It was like, yo, we getting ready to rock with it. And I reached out to Mr. Smallwood asking if I can use the record. And he was just like, well, let me hear it. So when he heard the record, he was like, yo, this is getting ready to take me places. You're getting ready to take me places I've never been. Mind you, this is a old school gospel cat with like a legend in gospel. And so that record came out, went #1 on the Billboard charts as far as gospel digital song sales. Went #1 on a few other charts, and then my album came out and went #1, and people was like, whoa, who's this dude? Keep in mind, executives was coming at me like, gospel ain't selling, so how are you selling records? And I said, grassroots. They're like, what do you mean grassroots? I said, Christian universities, Baptist universities, they all listen to music too. I went to these universities giving my music out, and I saying like, yo, if y'all like my song, sow a seed and buy the album. And we was moving 500-600 units a week, doing that. And so that alarmed everybody. You know what I mean? Yeah. And once that alarm went off, obviously the wolves came out from the gospel and Christian side of things, and tried to shut us down, but they couldn't. Only because what we were doing was foolproof. And then once they got past that, it was like, okay, well, who gave you authorization to license those records? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then they tried to get us from that standpoint.
Yeah, man. And guys, again, if you guys don't know who we're talking to Emcee N.I.C.E. Emcee N.I.C.E. Get his video a like, by the way. Emcee N.I.C.E. is the mastermind behind 2020 Summerfest, which is happening September 17th and 18th. I will be there. Brian Trejo will be there. Bizzle will be there. Indie Tribe will be there. Derek Minor, Flame, What Up RG, Aha Gazelle, Stephen Malcolm. The largest Christian hip hop festival ever. And this is the man. Let me go back to here. This is the man behind it. So why pivot and want to create this infrastructure when there's wolves in this scene? I was talking to Sho Baraka yesterday, and he was talking about in his book and in a conversation about like there needing to be more ownership of the distribution, the festivals, these different things. And I brought up, I was like, yo, Emcee N.I.C.E. is doing it. He's here building Summerfest. It's incredible. The ticket, we talked a couple weeks ago and the ticket sales were solid. And so now it's like we're in a stadium, but you'd be surprised how many conversations I've had with people that are like skeptical. Like, so what do you think about this Emcee N.I.C.E. character? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just met him, but he seems super solid. Seems like the real deal. Like, the show is that, So why do you think there's this skepticism, and why would you want to go into Christian hip hop and establish this infrastructure when it was not really your responsibility? Like, you was over here doing fine, but for whatever reason, you wanted to come into the space and kind of elevate it and build it up. And we know in the secular how important a Coachella is, how important a Rolling Loud is to break an artist. But why come in this space to help? Like, it doesn't. Outside of God, like, it doesn't really necessarily make sense. You know what I mean? And we can kind of get into some of the wolves, if you will.
yeah, it makes sense if you're a believer and you want to keep amplifying God's word. You know what I'm saying? It makes full sense when you got a bunch of music ministries that are out there that are not being amplified, that are just as good. You know what I mean?
Come on.
And
Come
so
on.
at the end of the day, for me, it's about helping others. Yeah, I'm solid. You're right. I'm solid, and I'm still solid, and will be solid. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if we out here doing God's will, you know, and we're trying to amplify His message, then what better way to do that than this in this platform? You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, we got to this point because once I'd made those #1 records, and once I got challenged by the Wolves, it was like, okay, can't beat them, join them. So when I go meet with these labels, and the labels are saying, yo, we know you got 5 #1s, you know what I mean? But we can't give you $1 million. You know what I mean? And we can't give you $1 million because Christian rap don't have radio. We can't give you $1 million because Christian rap don't have print and media that supports it. We can't give you $1 million because Christian rap don't have venues outside of churches. So how do we get our money back? You see? And they're like, and so, you know, when that light goes off, like, yeah, how do they get their money back? Because the honorariums that some of these people receive aren't considered authentic in the sense of official. Like whenever you getting booked for a festival like a Coachella, they go to a thing called Polestar, and Polestar tells them your value, what your draw is, right? In a specific market or a specific region. Well, the Christian hip hop don't have that. There's only a few of y'all that are on Polestar that we can go and go, okay, Andy Mineo brings in around 1,300 people. You know what I'm saying? And his value is X, Y, and Z. And so, you know, I was like, you're right. So I got with my business partner, Chantal Grayson, we call it Shani G. And we started God's House of Hip Hop. We went to DJ Ski and Mark Mosley over at Dash Radio. Was like, yo, can we bring a station there? And their first question was, does Christian rap even have enough music for a station? And we was like, what? Huh? Not only do we got enough music, but I said, not only do we got enough music, but our rappers are better. You know what I'm saying?
It's a fact.
You know what I mean?
That's
and so when we did that, we went and got with Rapzilla. We got with the who's who of the culture because the goal was to elevate the culture. We got with Track Stars. We got with, you know, DJ I Rock Jesus. And we started with 8 shows going into Dash. And ultimately that first year, we became the first Christian hip hop station in the history of gospel to win a Stellar Award.
Come on.
You see what I mean? So think about that. Nobody talked about that. But that was like monumental for the culture. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, but I just didn't take no slight to that. It was like, okay, we got nominated again next year. We got the next year, and we're nominated again this year, and we could very well walk off with the trophy come July 9th. You know what I'm saying? And so ultimately that was the move. Radio station, check. Not only do we got artists, we play Christian hip hop, we pay the artist. So our whole objective is, if we can't pay you, we can't play you, which means you have to have your business in order so you can get those sound exchange checks, those royalties and residuals that some of these artists have been missing out on because they just go in and, you know, and put the record out, you know. So once we get to that point, it was like, okay, what's next? Well, every radio station has a festival, a summer jam, or a powerhouse. So why would we be any different? And now it's just like, okay, what we need to do is take this festival and make it our Coachella. Because I had somebody when we said, yo, when we came out with the tickets, it's like, oh, they're a little expensive. I'm like, yo, we in California and they're cheaper than Coachella, cheaper than EDC. They were like, but you guys are not Coachella. And we were like, but our stars is, you know what I'm saying? Ruslan is the equivalent to Kendrick. In this space,
about that. Hold on.
In this
space, I'll take it. So let me ask you this: you guys, you dropped a little gem here that I don't want to gloss over. And you talked about hard ticket value, and you talked about how a lot of Christian artists don't quite understand hard ticket value because they're operating on an honorarium, which is not about numbers and what you generate at the door. It's about whatever you feel like you're worth or whatever the churches say you're worth. When you get into hard ticket value, now you're talking about, hey, this is what I generate. Therefore, if I'm going to do a show, I can't charge 2x what I generate, because then that doesn't make sense for a promoter, right? And so in terms of building some of the infrastructure, do you think that a lot of Christian artists just aren't quite understanding how the business side of this works and how important a hard ticket draw is, how important a connection with your audience is?
Yeah, the thing about them is a lot of them will say, well, my YouTube numbers is this, my Spotify numbers is 12 million, 10 million, whatever. And I'm just like, but when have you performed in LA? You know what I mean? When have you even did a radio tour in LA? You know, because hard tickets is just that, hard tickets. So if you have never been here, if you never sold nothing, how can we expect, you know, you to come out? That's why Polestar will tell us in this region, this artist has done this X, Y, and Z. So yeah, a lot of the gospel heads and Christian heads come in overvaluing themselves based on honorariums, because honorariums is just the price. That's a position. That's a price for that position. So if you go into a church and they say, for this year's entertainment, we got 10 grand. You know what I mean? They only got 10 grand for the year, so they have to kind of divvy that up into the artists that are coming. But who was I talking to? I think it was Corey Goss from Domination and DJ Quote, where I was like, now if Christian hip hop had a poll star for Christian hip hop, like that outlines like the honorariums that were received and different maybe we can put some type of value based on that, but that doesn't exist. So we have to go by, you know, what's in here. So if I'm gonna pay you, you know, X, Y, and Z for being a headliner, you should be able to move 10% of our tickets. You know, 9 times out of 10, the headliners are supposed to be able to sell your show out. You see what I mean? And then everybody else is just, you know, happy to be a part of it, you know, but at the end of the day, a lot of the Christian hip hop artists don't understand that. And then even when it comes to marketing and promoting, they think, oh, 4 weeks, you know, it's good. No, we're trying to put 3,000 to 7,000 people in a stadium. That's, you know, you need a little more leeway than that.
Yeah, man. And you guys just opened up general admission tickets for $100.
We heard you.
For both days. For both days, by the way. And then there's also a streaming ticket if you can't be there in person. By the way, the link to get your tickets is pinned up in the chat and in the description of this video. And so so the tickets for both, this is ridiculously cheap, man. $100 for both nights. The VIP tickets are a bit more expensive with you know, seating and all that kind of stuff. But if you're near California, if you wanted to come to California, this is the event. Like, it's at a stadium. This is my first time performing at a stadium. I don't be doing stadiums like that. So thank you for having me at a stadium. Yes, give me some breaking news. Talk to me.
We just added the truth.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Manny, the truth, man. That's the homie. That's amazing. Indie Tribe got added as well. They're one of the headliners. The night I'm night 2. D1, 1K Few, Wande, Emcee N.I.C.E, Brian Trejo, Jordan Armstrong, Uzuhan, Jared Sanders. Indie Tribe. This is gonna be phenomenal, man. And then John Keith and No Big Deal are doing solo sets as well, right? So it's not just
no,
it's just one.
Indie Tribe.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. That's slick. Okay, I see. MC Nice, man. You shrewd. I like it. Man, that's amazing. So, why do you think there is this hesitation, or this? I don't say hesitation. This like reluctance, like, oh, who's this guy, and what do you know what I mean? Because I got a couple calls from friends of mine, that were like, what do you think about this thing? How do you think it's gonna do this and that? You know, and I'm like, I don't know, but we need to be 150% involved and push this to the best of our ability, because this could set the precedent for a lot. Why do you think inside of Christian hip hop, you know, and I don't want to call anybody wolves or anything like that, but why do you think that there is this like reluctance or this like skepticism around an event as dope as 2020 Summerfest?
Because the thing about it is, this becomes successful, it changes life for everybody. You see what I'm saying? It changes the way of doing business for everybody. You know what I mean? And some people, you know, change is some people don't want change. You know what I mean? Some people want it as is so that they can continue to get the breaks that they get, you know, and take these artists for what it is. You know what I'm saying? So when we put value on them, now this festival is successful in this market. Guess what happens in Florida? Guess what happens in Atlanta, where we know Christian hip hop is like a hotbed there. Now everybody's going to be wanting to do Christian hip hop shows, which means the value of each artist is going to go through the roof. And some people don't want that value to go through the roof. You know?
Yeah, and we see a pattern of guys going outside of creating their own systems and creating their own festivals and just doing the winter jams, the rock and roll worship tours and what have you. But to your point, like if you're putting on your own event, and you were and now this isn't owned by someone from outside the culture, this is owned by somebody inside the culture, it does change some things. So it's not about just a bag. Now you're talking about infrastructure, right? Now you're talking about like everybody's a part of this. Like I don't, like literally, like I know majority of these artists, and I don't know anybody who wanted to be a part of it that isn't a part of it. You know what I mean? So I think it's smart that you're doing it that way. There's a few.
Keep in mind that when we put the roster together in 2019,
right,
some of these people weren't really active. You know what I mean? And so we didn't want to just put people on for nostalgia purposes. You know what I'm saying? Keep in mind, we're trying to show value for the culture because we're trying to help create an ecosystem for the Christian hip hop that sustains Christian hip hop.
Yes.
You see? And so in order to do that, you have to prove viability, in the market space. And that was the whole objective, and so some of the people were reluctant because there's been a whole lot of promises made in the culture that never come through. Some of the people I talked to was like, people talk this, but then when it came time to, make it happen, it was like, yeah. And I was just like, I've asked nobody for nothing. In fact, I've given everybody a bag. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you guys have definitely went about it in a very honorable way that I feel like is there's no finagling, there's no discounts, there's no, you know what I'm saying? Like you just set offers in that were very reasonable. You know what I mean? That I think were indicative of your character.
And not only that, we're doing something that most festivals don't do. We were covering flights, hotels, food, transportation on top of what you get. So your money is your money. We taking care of all the other stuff. You know what I mean? When I think about a festival that took place here in LA, you know what I'm saying? They didn't cover stage. They didn't. In fact, some artists had to pay to get on the stage. Pay to get there, and you just got an address, and however you get there is when you get there. This is where you check in. No, we went a step above in regards to we wanted the Christian hip hop to know that not only do we care, but we love the culture and we love them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Guys, tickets are up in the description. I'm going to show you guys this one more time. By the way, if you're new here, consider subscribing. Here's the flyer. 2020 Summerfest. Goodness gracious. Los Angeles, September 17th, 18th. Tickets are on sale. You can get the general admission ticket for $100, okay? $100. That's wildly cheap for an event. There's also VIP tickets. There's also a single day pass. There's streaming tickets. You can stream the event for both days for only $35. I will be performing. It's going to be amazing. So if you guys want to pick up your tickets, it's in the description right now and pinned up in the chat. So go scoop up some tickets for yourself.
Real quick, I wanted to say something.
Yes, sir.
So even all we're asking for artists is to promote to their friends and their family. At the end of the day, we want to promote that you're going to be performing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at the end of the day, all we can ask is for promotion. When the streaming tickets went on sale, do you know who bought in? Germany. You know what I'm saying? Switzerland.
Wow.
The UK all bought tickets, for the streaming, because here's what you get with streaming. It's interactive. You can actually, those people that bought tickets from Germany, whatever, you can chat with them while the festival's happening. You can also select different camera angles that you feel represents you. And then also you could win merch, or you can play different games, whether it be Christian hip hop trivia. So we made it real interactive for $20, as far as the streaming side of things.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about this. Folks are here. Hopefully they're scooping up tickets. What's the goal? What are we shooting for? What do we want to see? Because it's a stadium, so we got to put some butts in some seats. MC Nice, talk to me. What is the goal? What are we trying to get to?
So the goal.
Go ahead.
So keep in mind, this is going to be annual. So this is not a one-off. We're not just doing it this year. We're going to do it this year, next year, the year after. And so the goal is to, year one, maybe try to get 3,000 to 5,000 people in. I think that's a respectable number in regards to launching. And then year two, maybe 7,000 to 12,000. Year three, 22,000. And then where the stadium is located, it's a thing called Exposition Park. Right. And in Exposition Park is also the LA Coliseum, you know what I mean? Where they got the Space Shuttle store, and they got it's where Rolling Loud throws their event. Right. Okay. And so we want to go between year 1 and 5 inside the Bank of California Stadium. And then year 5 and 6 expanded to the parking lots and Christmas Tree Lane, which would give us maybe 60,000 people, and then into the LA Coliseum by year 9 and 10, where we will officially become the largest faith-based hip-hop music festival in the world. We are that now. We will be, once we get this done, we will have done that, but we trying to be officially the Coachella in the city.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and we're still a ways out, so we definitely gonna have to have you again and have you on with some of the artists, maybe some I don't know if we're still announcing people that are going to be added. I just had Indie.
We might have a mystery headliner in August. Yeah, so
I love it. So with that, so we definitely got to have you on again. Let me ask you this, and I don't mean to get too personal, but one of the things I talk a lot about on this channel is handling our money God's way, being financially literate, taking care of our own and getting a return on our investment. It sounds like because you've been faithful over all these decades, we're not even talking years, decades, faithful financially, faithful relationally, faithful to God, that now you're in a position to do something this big and this epic. Can you talk about that a little bit? I don't need to know details, but can you talk about just some of the how? Like, I'm watching this, I'm like, how is this happening? How is this coming together? And ultimately, I know it's a byproduct of your faithfulness, your business partners. But those folks that are watching that, like, I'm 36, you're a little older than I am. There's folks that are watching that are 25, 20, and they want to do something big for their community. Maybe it's not a festival. Maybe it's a charitable contribution to a big orphanage or a soup kitchen or something like that, or help plant a church. Talk me through just the financial literacy and the side of like pulling off something this massive.
Well, I think it starts with understanding the industry. When me and Shani, what we ultimately ended up doing was we went and studied Pasquale. We went and studied Rolling Loud. We went and studied Tomorrowland. We went and studied even the different festivals that weren't major, to figure out exactly how to pull this off. I think from when it comes to financial, is understand the whole part of, if you ever written a business plan, in the business plan is the SWOT analytics, right? Analysis, the SWOT analysis, and SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And what it is, it's about understanding the industries that you're getting in, or the industries you're a part of. When it came to Christian hip hop, I swatted Christian hip hop, and I was able to get 5 #1 records and not have to go through whatever. Now, when it came to the festival side, me and Shani, we swatted the festival. We're going, okay, we're not going to have to spend $50 million like Coachella does, because the artists that are in our genre aren't even there. You see what I'm saying? So automatically we knew that if we had about $1 million, $1 million, $1.3 million, we can probably pull this off. You know what I mean? And so we started working it, from those numbers. And I think for anybody that wants to do anything, it's really about understanding the industry, swatting it, understanding what it takes, where the weaknesses are, where the opportunities, where the threats, so that you can navigate that as you create whatever it is you're creating. So when it came to the festival, we understood, okay, the biggest hurdle is where. And if we're trying to make a statement, going to a convention center is not making a statement.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or going to a park is not making a statement, but going to a stadium is making a statement. If you got Christian hip hop coming into a stadium and moving in a city that's really not known for that, then you really making a statement. And so that's what our objective was, is going, okay, let's go see if we can get this done. We know that we can get the artist done for X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Especially if we come in and we do it right, and we wanted to do it with excellence. So that way we became the standard. And when it comes to radio now, with God's House of Hip Hop on Dash Radio, we become the standard because we're the second largest radio on Dash's platform, and we're the first in the history of Dash to win, a major award. So now any station that's coming in, Dash is going, are you guys GH3? Can you go look at them, see how they're doing it? Because that's how we want it done. So when it comes to festivals, we're like, yo, we want to give the artists A1 treatment. We want to make sure that everything that happens with you guys is with excellence, so that when you go talk about how Summerfest is done, you did the culture, it'd be like, yo, but they did us with great excellence. And that's what was the that's the movement behind that.
That's fantastic. I think that is so good. The SWOT thing, right? Strengths, weaknesses. Break that down one more time. Opportunities.
So it's a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So when an investor when an investor wants to invest in you, they want you to understand. They want to know that you know your business. So when you give them the SWOT, that you telling them these are the strengths, these are the weaknesses that are in here, these are the opportunities that we can take advantage of, and these are the threats that can hinder us. Now, when an investor learns that, they feel confident in investing in you because you obviously did the research on that, and you would know how to troubleshoot when these things came about because you understand everything that could challenge you.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull this up because I want people to see this. Guys, if you're enjoying this, give this video a thumbs up. But this, I don't know if I'm allowed to show them this, but I'm gonna show them anyway. And I just ask for forgiveness later. This is nuts, bro. This is insane. The fact that this is this is the real deal, man. The mock of the stage. The whole layout, the screens. I'm trying to figure out what am I about to have on these screens. Like this is the real deal, man. So kudos to you guys. Like I said, forgive me if I wasn't supposed to share that, but
you wasn't, but you rude mine. So.
Okay, so tell me, what are the threats and what are the weaknesses? What do you see as some of the threats and the weaknesses in Christian hip hop with this specific?
Well, the weaknesses is obviously going to be marketing. You know what I mean? And maybe the fan base is not here. You know what I mean? And so, but we feel that at the end of the day, when how we reverse that is by going to preachers and pastors of churches and saying, your kids are already listening to Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, so you can get with this or you can get with that. You know what I mean? So we're trying to see if we can change the mindset of that. That's why we have a lot of Latin artists also involved with Alex Zerto, Manny Montez, Brian Trejo. It's because LA is a predominantly Latin market, right? And so we know that Catholics, we did the research. So in the SWOT analysis is understanding, the different faiths that are involved and seeing how we can tap in, especially with the Korean market. We got Heesun Lee and Uzuhan. So we tapping into the Korean side of things to, try to unite. The whole purpose behind God's House of Hip Hop 2020 Summerfest is 2020 means perfect vision. We're saying through your faith, you have perfect vision. So let's unite the faith, let's unite the fans, let's unite the culture and handle kingdom business.
That's awesome. Emcee N.I.C.E, we got time for some questions before we get out of here. I want to honor your time. Okay, guys, if you guys have questions about any of this, again, let me show you guys the lineup. Do give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to go over the lineup while you guys just drop questions. I'm going to pull your questions on screen. Here's the lineup, September 17th, 18th. It's in Los Angeles, California, at Bank of California Stadium. Yes, you heard it right, stadium, okay? This is the lineup: Alex Zerto, Derek Minor, Flame, What Up RG, Angie Rose, Stephen Malcolm, Aha Gazelle, Gavi Cannon, Joey Vontes, Propaganda, Esso, my man Paul Russell, Paris, Chariz, Heesun Lee, Young Noah, Hurt, and then night 2, which is the night I'm performing, Bizzle, Manny Montez, Canton Jones, D1, 1K Few, Wande, Emcee N.I.C.E, Brian Trejo, Jordan Armstrong, Ruslan, which is me, Indie Tribe is headlining this night, Jared Sanders, Brandon P, Uncle Reese, Ishan Burgundy, AI The Anomaly, John Key Dayton. The lineup is incredible. Like, the lineup is nuts. And so let's jump into some of your guys' questions. I'm gonna come back here with Emcee N.I.C.E. We're gonna jump into some of your guys' questions. Okay, here we go. This is a good one. Hardest artist to book for the concert. Who is the hardest artist to book for the concert?
Well, the hardest was Bizzle, and it wasn't because he was hard. It was trying to catch him. You know what I'm saying? And so, because he's active, and so for us, it was just like, okay, are we gonna get him? Are we not gonna get him? How we going? And ultimately, when we finally was able to get with him, he came on, and I was like very, very happy with that, because you need some of the pillars of Christian hip hop to be there to help usher this in.
Yeah. Someone asked when will online tickets be available? They're available now, and it's pinned up at the top of the chat. So go get your online tickets for the stream right now. It's pinned up in the chat right now. Let's see. What's the one thing you wished you would have known about business before you got started that's now critical to your success? Ooh, that's a good question from Amp.
Yeah, well, that was funny because one of the things was understanding SWOT. If I understood earlier that all I had to do was research, understand the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, I would have been able to finesse the game a long time ago, because I would have that understanding from a business standpoint of how to do that, And so for anybody, I tell them, one, read the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. You know what I mean? And that'll give you some real insight on how to be a leader, but it also helps you with understanding how to navigate certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, good. That's good. What is the number one most important lesson you've learned that applies to creatives or dealing with creative people? It's from JP.
One, never take things personal. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And get out your feelings. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we all got ideas.
Yeah.
And we all got different understandings of how things work. And I think if you listen more than you talk, you'll learn a whole lot more about things.
That's good. Would Kanye West be considered? I don't know if you want to talk on that.
Yeah. Well, we're in the process of talking with some mystery headliners. It could be Kanye. It could be NF. It could be Toby Nwigwe. It could be. I mean, of course he would be considered. He had the #1 Christian album for like 6 months in a row. You know what I mean? And with Sunday service, he saved a whole lot of people, even though people may not agree with him in regards to how he lived. He saved a whole lot of people with his music ministry. So we would have to consider him.
We kind of talked about this earlier. I don't know if you want to touch on it again. What is the long-term outlook after this concert? Like, what do you hope gain out of this, the long-term outlook on this?
Well, the long term is, one, creating an ecosystem for the culture so that the culture can thrive within itself, where you have artists that come in, perform on Saturday, then have to do Uber on Sunday. We want them to be performing on Saturday, then performing on Wednesday. And then, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's about creating an ecosystem. So the long term is to establish a festival that is ours and not having to piggyback onto a Winter Jam or a Live Fest. And that's no poo-poo on none of them. It's just that they got a category that says Christian hip hop, and here's the fee for that. And then whatever you can just fit in that is what it is. But they don't take it personal, because we not Forgotten Country. We not Lauren Daigle. We not Toby Mac. You know what I mean? So here we want it to be ours, and it's cultivated by ours.
That's good. This is a good question. Another question from Ant. He said, how do you align your vision with limited resources, a little bag?
Well, you start with doing the little things. You know what I'm saying? So
come on.
If you can't rent a stadium, rent a park.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Or rent a parking lot. I think in some like in LA, the city or the state controls certain parking lots. You can rent for like $2,000 and put a stage there and start from there. So it's just a matter of your vision. I think what it is your vision. You know how they said don't eat more. You know, people see more and they eat more than they really can handle. I can't think of the phrasing, but at the end of the day, start where your budget is.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
That's good. That's good. That's good. Shout out to Brother Eden for the generous super chat. Always been a cut above, but your guest of late on a whole nother level. Appreciate you, brother. I think that's so good, man. And we've done we've done our own local amphitheater before, thrown our own events, obviously thrown events at our church. So I think it's really helpful to do that. I think what makes a festival unique, because here's the deal. I think where Christian hip hop will probably go, and this is my prediction, is the more people get business savvy, the more people understand audience and platform. I think you're going to have more folks from the community that build hard ticket draw and then plug into the Live Nation model, the Live Nation style of venues. And I think that's going to be good. And I think there's going to be certain folks that do that. But what's going to be interesting is doing events where we can cross-pollinate audiences. That is something that I think has limited us, because where people go to cross-pollinate has been in CCM, not in Christian hip hop. You know what I mean? Not amongst ourselves. So I think that's what this does, is like, I'm gonna be fine. Someone like Toby's gonna be fine. Indie Tribe is gonna be fine. But the other artists who can potentially expose themselves to someone's bigger audience don't really get that shot, because there is no Coachella, there is no Rolling Loud, there is no way for an emerging artist to get in front of a wider audience outside of social media. And social media is amazing, but we know that social media is not the same as a live event. It's not the same as seeing an artist for the first time in person. So I think that's why what you're doing is so important. We got another question from Aaron. It says, what are they doing in secular spaces that was Christians can learn from when it comes to music, marketing, and reaching people with a message? That's a good question. What are folks doing in secular spaces that we can learn from? And I'll talk about that a lot on the channel. People get mad at me because I'm always trying to learn from the best minds, regardless of if they're Christians or not.
First off, they're spending money.
Okay.
So I'm just keeping 100. In the secular spaces, they spending the 50, the 100,000, you know what I mean? Because the return on that is greater. You know, in this space, that type of money isn't available as far as the return. You see, and so because it's not available in the return, then you're limited in the resources. And if you're trying, let's just say if I took the Indie Tribe record right now, right, and I took that record with $100,000, I can break it on Power 106 in LA. You see what I'm saying? I can break that record on 92 or 97, Hot 97. You know what I mean? And then now you've been put in a whole different space. It's really about understanding, different marketing side. Now, I will say this. Christian hip hop has leveled the playing field as far as creativity and song structure. Because if you look at what's going on in television, movies, gaming, our music is the ones that are being played, right? Yep. Think about it. I was watching the BET Awards the other day, and going to the commercial was coming in hot. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole BET commercial was Lecrae and Andy Mineo. Think about that. So it ain't that we don't have the music; it's just that we don't have the budgets.
That's good. That's good. And I'll tell you a quick story about budgets here in a second. But you brought up Lecrae and Andy Mineo. Are Hovey, Andy, and Lecrae being considered for the festival?
We talked to Hovey earlier before he signed with Reach Records, and we were supposed to get back. So, it could happen or it couldn't happen. I don't know. And I think Lecrae had a couple of engagements already prior to that were in the same year that has been pushed forward. And I think he might either be be there, or he might not, because like I said, we got a mystery guest, so he could very well be there. Andy, Social Club Misfits, there's a few out there that could still happen. You know what I mean?
That's good. That's good. What do you see as the biggest threat to CHH outside of marketing? What would be the future framework look like? So what do you think is the biggest threat to Christian music? And outside of marketing, what do you think the future would look like?
I think the future, the biggest threat is CHH artists themselves. You
got no chill, MC N.I.C.E. I love it.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like, you get people saying, well, CHH is this and CHH is that. I should be able to do this. She'll be able to do that. Yeah, but you can go praise God over there at the secular side and cuss and do all these other things. They allow that over there. I mean, Chance has done it, Snoop has done it, Drake has done it, so they allow that. But it seems like when you in this culture, CHH, you should want to take responsibility and accountability. You should want to be forthright as far as your word and understanding of the word when it comes to the fans over here, because you are leaders, and a lot of the people that are listening to CHH, some of them is lost, and some of them need you. You know what I'm saying? And if you're doing the same thing as it is in the secular side of things, then what's the difference? They should just go on over there and listen to the rest of the music, you know what I mean, and not get filled with the words. So the only thing that can harm CHH is CHH itself. You know what I mean? Because it's very solid.
Man, oh man. Man, oh man, that's a mic drop moment. I don't know if there's anything else we need to talk about. The biggest threat to CHH is Christian artists. I think that's it. I think that's why I'm doing my best to make sure you guys know about this, and that because I know what's gonna happen. Emcee N.I.C.E. What's gonna happen is September 19th. People are gonna see footage on Instagram. People are gonna see footage on, on Facebook, on TikTok, and they're gonna be like, "Well, why didn't you tell me about this event? I didn't know the event was happening." And so we're telling you guys about the event right now. You guys know about the event right now. It's June. The event is July, August, September. It's in 3 months. Get your tickets, get your bus to California. If you can't get to California because you can't travel, get your online passes. They're $35. Let me see. Last question. We got a question. What can we do to support for those of us not in the area? What can we do to support for those of us not in the area? I would buy an online pass.
Yeah. I would the online. Also, there is merch. If you go to the festival. 2020summerfest.com. But here's the unique thing we're doing. We're doing promotions where if you're not here, right, a lot of churches got hit during pandemic. A lot of nonprofits got hit during the pandemic. So we got this program called Sow a Seed. So what happens is we're giving $1 to each charity from the ticket. So for instance, if like Ruslan, if you go to Ruslan's link, you know what I mean, and you buy a ticket based on Ruslan's link, then $1 from the tickets that are sold through Ruslan will go to either his charity or his charity of choice. And so we got this program called Sow a Seed, this 2020 Summerfest / charity. And you can do that. So we're going to be the fundraiser for a lot of churches that can't have fundraisers because of the economic hit. So if you want to support, buy the merch. We got some fire merch, by the way, and then also buy a ticket, sow a seed.
That's good. Last question, Brother Eden. He says, "Is money, big money, the death of Christian artistry?"
Now, I mean, the bottom line is, if you are in the business of selling records, is money. I mean, everybody's in it. You're going to make some money. You have to. Or how do you sustain yourself? So it's not the death. At the end of the day, it's like I said, the artist within it. If you get in Christian hip hop and you start blowing up, and all of a sudden you want to be, I don't know, one of these mainstream artists where you want to get all the gold chains and all the fly cars, that's going to be the death, because now you're going to have other Christians going, okay, well, it's okay to be Christian and drive a Maybach and a Bentley and have all these gold chains, but at the end of the day, that's what's going to be the death is if you lose your way.
Come on. That's it. Mic drop. Emcee N.I.C.E. Hey, the link to tickets is pinned up. The website, I think, is just 2020 Summerfest for merch. Is that how they get merchandise?
Yeah, 2020summerfest.com. Go to merch. Yeah. But if you're going to buy your tickets, buy them through my man Ruslan's link, for real.
Yeah, that's pinned up right now. What is it? The online price is
$20 plus fees.
Yeah, $20 plus fees, or $35 for both days online. Yep. So if you can't make it online. Any final words before we get out of here, brother?
Thank God.
There we go.
At the end of the day, man, the festival gets nowhere, the culture gets nowhere if we don't support each other. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we got to support each other, whether it's God's House of Hip Hop 2020 Summer Fest, the Flavor Fest, Domination, Legacy. Like, if we don't support all the venues that are helping elevate the culture, then we're not going to be one.
Emcee N.I.C.E, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing, amazing. Brother, thank you so much.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
Hey, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you found it valuable, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. You can check out one of the other videos related to this that'll be over here. Now, I gotta tell you about a free training I have for anyone that is an entrepreneur, a creative, an artist, but maybe you are unsure on how to find your voice, how to find your niche. I have a free training in the description of this video. Check it out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next video.